Deer Park, located in Orange County, New York, is a town rich in natural beauty. However, a few years ago, the tranquility here was broken by some newcomers who purchased a plot of land on Gailey Hill Road and started to build a temple named Dragon Springs. At first, the hospitable residents were happy to share their local resources with these new neighbors. But not too long after, those neighbors revealed their true colors. Most notably, illegal construction without building permits, which badly damaged the local ecology and interfered with the residents' way of life. These newcomers seemed unscrupulous and insatiable, and they even hired security guards who used violence to prevent the local residents from visiting the hill where the temple is located. The neighbors also did their utmost to evade taxes in the name of religion, enjoying the rights here but not paying any duty, hatching something awful. Today, please follow us to see what is happening here.
There are houses out on that main road there, one in particular where residents of the road said that on a warm, sunny day with the door open, you can look in there and see wall-to-wall bunk beds, like 30 people stuffed into one house without that protection of the fence and of the gates that they say they need so badly, shoes piled up outside on the front porch. And then once that information started to go around, now they have, or when I last looked, and for quite a while, it had very thick, rigid insulation in all of the windows. So it's essentially completely closed off to sunlight and the outside world. Also, residents have said that buses will come in the morning and pick up all of these people and bring them to the property with the fence and the gates where they're believed to volunteer to do this construction, ever-growing construction there. And then in the evening, they report that the same bus drops these people off at this house. Again, obviously living in deplorable conditions, which were made worse by porta potties parked in the driveway. So they had no working toilet, it would seem, in the house, but instead would have to go outside to relieve themselves essentially over the same hole, possibly 30 people in the house, like was reported at certain times.
And the other thing, too, is if you drive on Galley Hill Road, and I don't know about now this time of day, but there have been times when we've gone up, and the children that they say they want to protect, we see little ones out walking on the road. Now, it's a very rural road, and it's a lot of curves and things, and there's little children out there on the road. It's not safe for that, so and they say they want to protect people, which is why they have the walls, but do they only protect the people who are inside their walls when they're inside their walls, and they don't care when they're outside their walls?
That people who live there at Dragon Springs are not allowed to take video, to take pictures. In fact, there was a picture shared with the public of their college that's there, and it was just littered with trash and construction debris. And then many delivery drivers' jobs were threatened because one picture made it out of that property. And for a group who claims to be so proud of their property and they say they're creating something so fantastic, it seems very likely that, yes, this is true, that they are not allowed to take any video or any pictures of what's going on in there. So why are things so isolated?
On the website of Dragon Springs, we can see that it is also home to Shen Yun Performing Arts, a world-class dance company and orchestra, and the Fei Tian Academy of the Arts boarding school. Besides, more than a dozen other organizations which claim to be religious institutions are named on the same website. Therefore, all these institutions belong to Dragon Springs and, therefore, receive a religious tax exemption. That is to say, Dragon Springs has enjoyed social welfare for so many years but has paid nothing back to Deer Park.
The construction is of particular concern also because they have a religious tax exemption. And in our town, our taxes have remained relatively low compared to the rise in the state and even the nation as a whole. But with so much construction there and no tax on it whatsoever, it becomes a burden to the town.
The U.S. government regulates that for the sake of safety, to add additional floors or make any internal restructuring, even on one's own land, one needs to get a government approval. For some large-scale projects, it may take years to get that approval, but Dragon Springs has never stopped expanding, building, or restructuring secretly. Look up from the foot of the mountain, you may find nothing abnormal. But in these photos taken by local residents from the hilltop, it is obvious that Dragon Springs is adding additional levels to the existing structures and with no government permits.
Because we have something here in New York State, I don't know if in the other states, but it's called the Mama's Plan. It's a mutual aid plan. Because we're so rural, we have many rural fire companies, and they're all volunteer. So if you know how many people are there, you know how many other companies you need to call in if there's a fire or there's an incident, because you need help. But we don't know. We have no idea. And for a long time, they wouldn't even let the fire company in. They finally did let them in, but it was a very controlled tour. They weren't allowed to look at different things or to go through things. And normally, like for the larger areas here, once a year, the employer, whoever runs it, whoever is in charge of the environmental health and safety aspect of it, will invite the local fire companies in, because we want them to be safe when they come to fight a fire. We want them to know, okay, you go down straight in this hall and maybe you have to go right or you have to go left, because how else will they know unless you do that? And they build and they don't get permits. They apply for their permits, their building permits, after they've done it. For instance, just going on now, they applied for a permit to replace their driveway. They got the permit, and then they built it completely different. So the town put a stop work order on them, because you can see that, because that's on the road. God only knows what they've done inside, but and then the DEC put a stop to it, the Department of Environmental Conservation, because it will impede the flow of the water that goes underneath because of the way it was built. They spilled concrete into the waterway. It's a protected waterway. They spilled concrete into it. I guess they don't seem to respect what the rest of us respect, and they don't follow the rules that the rest of us have to.
Being a religious group, Dragon Springs never pays taxes to the town. Yet the town must equip new firefighting facilities for those same illegal constructions inside the community. It will be a heavy burden for this town.
Their university is, from what we can see from people who have flown over and seen things, 10 or 11 stories high. We don't have a ladder truck that reaches that. There isn't anybody in our area who has a ladder truck that reaches it, and the local fire company who covers them brought that up in a meeting and saying, we need to address this, because how do we protect people if something happens? And nothing. We got nothing. And it's not uncommon, if a large building comes into a rural area, that they will donate money to help the local fire company, because why should everybody else have to pay for what one business owner or one group is going to benefit from?
Since last year, many residents nearby Dragon Springs received a phone call from a real estate agent calling himself Liam O'Neill, who claimed to want to buy their homes with cash paid in full. O'Neill allegedly is a supporter and follower of Dragon Springs. Over the past few years, Dragon Springs has been buying up nearby homes and farms to expand into the surrounding area. But for Deer Park, the town itself cannot receive any mortgage tax from such cash transactions.
Because we also don't know, there's no record of anything. There's, normally when you buy a home, when there's a mortgage and there's mortgage taxes and there's all of the stuff that goes with it, kind of goes by the wayside then.
One of the practitioners owned a home and then sold the home, but it was never advertised as being for sale. It was bought by a tax-exempt company. But again, nobody really noticed. It was done very secretly. But they're still residing there. because people have called the home and asked for this particular practitioner. And they are there. You know, they'll say that,
What the fuck?
oh, he and his wife will be home shortly. You know, I'm just here watching the kids now. So it's just a way of getting out of paying for the property tax that the town needs, and so it becomes the burden of everybody else.
The constant construction noise also annoys residents nearby year after year. According to some, Dragon Springs only does their construction on weekends, nights, or holidays, but never on weekdays.
They seem to do their most work at night and on the holiday weekends because they know that nobody from the town or anyone is going to be going by. And that's my guess anyway, because why else would you do it at night and on the weekends? Like Labor Day weekend, I guess there was a lot of construction noise coming from there.
Okay, and then so to residents nearby, are they bothered by it?
Oh, yes, yes. There's a lot of people who are so frustrated with all of it.
The local government has attempted to encourage Dragon Springs to obey their rules and laws, but unexpectedly, Dragon Springs filed a countersuit against the town. At long last, the town won the case, but also lost a large amount in legal expenses. From then on, residents have rightly become very wary of Dragon Springs.
They have been, they were issued stop work orders. They took the town to court. They have a lot of money. The town doesn't have a lot of money. It was a long battle. The town won, but in the spirit of trying to get along, the town said, okay, even though you've lost, we're going to allow what you've currently built to stand. We're not going to make you tear it down, because that would be mean. And so then we thought that they would then say, okay, we will work with you from now on. But they didn't.
More than 10 years ago, local residents decided to welcome these newcomers with kindness and tolerance, hoping to offer a better home for them. But over the years, they could not help wonder, again and again, whether or not their decision was the right one. They sacrificed their land and their rights in their own native home, while these newcomers did whatever they wanted.
They have so much money that for the town to get involved in a lawsuit could just wipe us out. The town as we know it may not exist anymore. It's they didn't hesitate to take us to court once before, even though they lost, and they've said, we'll take you to court if you fight us. The one picture that was leaked out, it was completely unsafe. There was so much debris around, it would create what's called a trip and fall hazard. There was somebody working from an elevated height without the right fall protection, because I blew it up I was able to zoom in and blow it up on my computer. So that's just one small snapshot of what is a very large area, and I have to wonder how many other lives are at risk. How many other people's lives are at risk while they work, because I believe that work is something we do so we can have a life. It's not something we do so we can end our lives or impact our lives. We deserve to have a workplace free from recognized hazards. I don't see that happening there just based on that one picture.
The residents have expressed their yearning for the past and their helplessness for the present. They once warmly welcomed those guests who had come from afar, but never expected the troubles to come. However, bearing peaceful coexistence in mind, they still show great tolerance. To the people of Dragon Spring, just think about the huge disturbances and the hurt you have brought the local residents. Please stop this offensive behavior. Stop the illegal construction. Stop the disturbing noise. Stop the environmental disruption. Stop the ill-intentioned legal attacks. Every inch of land beneath your feet is a part of our town and belongs to all residents. How could you build such high walls to isolate us from this natural world, to deprive our freedom of enjoying this land, and return our kindness with ingratitude for the sake of selfish interests? We can't help but wonder, have you ever done anything that is consistent with the title of the temple? Local residents have recently posted a petition on the White House website. Please show your support and spread the word.